Hi everyone, my name is Regina Karish and I'd like to invite you all and welcome you to my YouTube channel. It is based off my Facebook page, Come Sew With Me. But before I get started with talking about sewing, I'd like to just give you a little background of information about me. I am married to the love of my life, John, and we have 3 children. We have a son, Chris, who's married and has 5 daughters and 1 son. We have a daughter, our middle daughter is Casey, and she's married and has 1 son. And our youngest daughter is Kaylee. And Kaylee lives here with her dad and I. She's about to be 15, so you know what that means. And she is the inspiration for all of my sewing journey. We have lived in 5 states, 4 countries, as my husband worked for Texaco, and then which became Chevron, and we lived out of the country for 13 and a half years. And he retired in 2003, and we came back from China to the States and looked for a place to live, and we settled on South Carolina. We absolutely love it here. It's a beautiful small town of Aiken. It's a horse community. Everything revolves around horses here, although we don't have horses. Kaylee does ride, however, but we also live in an equestrian subdivision, but we don't have horses. We'd rather see somebody else taking care of them than we. So that's kind of the basic beginning, and I have always been interested in crafting and things of that sort, like hand sewing. My mother, as I was growing up, my mother tried to get me to sew, but I absolutely had no part of it. I always found something else that was more exciting to do, but I did like doing the handwork on things that she made for me. And then, once I was married, I did handwork, cross stitch, needlepoint, things like that. And then I started into painting. We were living in England, and I decided to do painting, and so I took art classes, and I really enjoyed those. And then when we lived in Indonesia, I was told to bring along quilting supplies, which I didn't, and then ended up buying some very expensive stuff in the beginning, and I started quilting, and so I did that for the 4.5 years that we lived in Indonesia. Then we retired and came back to South Carolina, and I met a lady who was in the Quilt Guild, but as we're sitting in a meeting, she's doing some hand stitching, and I asked her what she was doing, and she said she was smocking, and so I said, oh, well, that looks interesting. I said, can you show me how to do that? So she did. Well, I started smocking little strips of fabric and geometric smocking. I could not get the hang of doing the picture smocking at all. And so I just started doing geometric smocking. But then I was like, what am I supposed to do with this? And she said, well, you have to make something in a clothing article and put it in it. I'm like, oh, really? Great. Now I have to use a sewing machine. So I thought, well, if I'm going to do this, I really need to learn how to sew. And in 2007, I decided to go to the Martha Pullen School of Art Fashion in Huntsville, Alabama, and I took the beginning heirloom class so that I could make a christening gown and to learn to sew. And I thought that that year our daughter-in-law was pregnant with our first grandchild, which was a girl, and I thought, well, she'll be able to wear this christening gown. Well, my daughter-in-law wasn't interested in the christening gown, so I thought, well, okay, I'll make this. And then we ended up adopting Kaylee, and there I had my girl to put my christening gown on. And that's how my journey began, basically. When I took that class, I was so excited that I could actually make something that was so beautiful, and people would think it was beautiful, and so I started sewing. And I came back home to South Carolina, and I found out about Farmhouse Fabrics, and so I went out there to visit, and I found out that Connie Palmer was teaching a class there. So of course I signed up for her class, and I took the class, and I was absolutely hooked. And Connie and I became really good friends, and she was working for the Martha Pullen Company also. So I started traveling and assisting with her classes and learning, and she was has taught me just about everything that I know. And after that, I took class, after working with her and taking classes, I took more classes. And I just feel like that you can never take enough classes, because no matter how much you think you know, you always learn something, at least one thing out of a class, and that makes it all worth your time and effort. And it helps speed you up probably along your journey. And so I always try to learn things. And after retiring, sort of, you'd say, I stopped traveling. I had to have knee surgery, and so I stopped traveling with Connie. And I started sewing at home and for Farmhouse Fabrics, and I started doing sample garments for Farmhouse, and I've been doing that now for many years, and it's absolutely a joy to go to Farmhouse and collaborate with Sally on projects, and you know, we bounce things off each other, and it's just absolutely wonderful. I run back home and I start sewing again, and it just keeps me going. And I've sewn for Kaylee over the years. I've made just about everything she's worn up until, you know, probably a couple of years ago she decided, okay, I can make special dresses at times, but most of the time she's in jeans and sweatshirts or t-shirts, you know. And so it's a little bit harder. But then our son, you know, he produced 5 girls. And so I have sewn for the 3 older ones. And one of them is 8 months older than Kaylee. And the twins are 8 months younger than Kaylee. So I had 4 girls there all at a long period of time to sew for. And now that they're all up, Juliet will be 16 in August, and then Kaylee's 15, and then the twins are 14. So they're really out of it. But now I have the 2 little ones, Scarlett and Josephine, and I still sew for them, and I sew for our little grandson, their brother, and he is 18 months old. His name is Sullivan. And our middle grandson, I didn't ever really sew too much for him. There were a few times that I made things for him and got photographs of him, but he was all boy. My daughter wasn't into the heirloom style clothing for him. But I'm continuing to sew for the little girls, and I sew a lot. I have sewn a lot for Sally's granddaughters, because she has a ton of granddaughters, as a lot of people know, and so I sewed for them. I just find that sewing soothes the soul. It just calms me. It's my happy place. No matter what's going on, I can go to my sewing room and I can become totally absorbed in it, and I forget about everything else. And so when I was at home right before COVID came, I used to tell all my friends, you know, come sew with me. And I would have friends over to sew with me. I have a huge sewing room, and we could get in here and cut out things and sew together and just have a great time. But then COVID came and kind of put a stop to that. And so I thought, well, I still have to do something. I don't want to be completely depressed. I still want to keep in touch with my friends. So I decided to start the Facebook page, Come Sew With Me. And in doing so, I set it up, and I decided that I don't want anything sold on this page. Nothing is sold, nothing is advertised to sell, and it is all about caring and sharing. I care about all my friends, and I want to see what they've made so they can post their pictures, and you know, the Facebook page is growing, and there's so much inspiration out there from each other, and that's what I really like about it. And I'll see something that somebody else has made and think, oh wow, I want to do that too, you know. And it's not all just about sewing clothing garments. It's about doing any kind of craft, really. I just want you to showcase whatever you do. If you know, we've done rope bowls, we've done ottomans, we've done, you know, I do fabric ornaments. There's just all kinds of things to be posted on my Facebook page. And just share it, and other people might not even be doing anything, but they'll say, oh wow, I think I like that and I want to do that. So that's what I hope that this Facebook page is helping everybody. And people will ask me how to do things, and that's what this YouTube channel is more about, is that I'm going to put all my little videos, how-tos on YouTube, because they're on my Facebook page, but you can't really organize them the way I'd like to. And so people ask me about where this video is, and it's like, okay, well, you have to go back down through here and you have to search for it. Well, if it is on YouTube, it'll be simple for you to go find that. And I don't do long, I'm not a professional. I don't do long, lengthy videos. I do very short, quick, informational videos on how I do something. And I know there are lots and lots of ways to do it. Do this same thing different ways. But this is my way. And when I show you that, it's because it works for me. And you might say, well, you watch it and think, well, I can do it this way or that way, and that's perfectly fine. Things can be done every which way. It doesn't really matter. As long as it works for you, that's how you want to do it. And so that's how I think, and that's how I am on my Facebook page. And so I will show you these things. And if somebody asks me, how do you do something? I usually go up, and if I really don't know how to do it, I'll figure it out, and then I'll post you a little video on showing you how I did it, you know. And so that's what my Facebook page is all about, is sharing and caring and kind comments. We have no negativity on there, and it's a really fun page to be on, or I think it is. And I've had lots of good response with all of this. I'll back up a little bit and tell you, I have done patterns. I have things published in the Classic Sewing magazine, and if you don't get that magazine, you really should, because it has great inspiration for sewing projects. And also I've had stuff published in the SAGA, the National Smocking Arts Guild of America, in their newsletter, and my passion is, I was lost there for a minute, but my passion is the We Care program. And the We Care program provides gowns, bonnets, blankets, and necessary items for the NICU babies and for bereavement babies. And, you know, I sew for them all the time. And this is something that if you haven't, and if you don't know about it, then check it out, you know, and you can ask me about it on my Facebook page, and I'll tell you more about it. But as I'm going to end this, I want to introduce you to my daughter Kaylee, who is the master techie behind all of my stuff. I don't have a big production center or anything else. I'm using my phone to record this, and she's the one who does all the editing, and when I can get her to do this. And of course there is a fee involved in it. You know, she's not going to do anything for totally free, even though she resides here. And so I will introduce you to Kaylee. Okay, I said I would introduce you to my Kaylee, and so here she is. This is my Kaylee.
Hi! I do all the editing behind the scenes, so if you see anything filmed, I'm probably behind it.
She probably is. So now she's off to get an ice cream, so have a good evening. Thank you for joining me.